So I just ran upstairs to borrow my wife's 5-string F bass to highlight the fact that all of the things we're going to work on in this video, the 3 workouts I think every bass player should try, are possible no matter how many strings your instrument has, and also no matter how you have it strung. 5 strings with a low B, standard 4-string tuning, six-string, and of course my go-to tuning of a 5-string bass with a high C strung E, A, D, G, C. Let's get right into our first of 3 workouts I think every bass player should try. Why do I think every bass player should try them? It's because I think they're going to challenge you on a multitude of fronts. Some things are going to help you with harmony. Some things are going to help you with your understanding of the entire neck of the instrument. And in general, they're going to give you a discipline to work on things in all 12 keys, maybe in a way that you hadn't thought about before. Our first exercise is from my book, Chordal Harmony. It's the very first exercise in the book. It's basically a major scale, and we're going to play it in tenths. And if you want to dig deeper into any of the things we're looking at in today's video, we're going to also look at some stuff from all the good stuff from my book, 10-Minute Manual. We're going to move around a little bit here. Everything is linked below. Now let's get into a major scale in tenths. Now what do I mean by that? I'm going to play G major, but I'm also going to play G major from the 3rd to the 3rd on the top string of the instrument, giving us the interval of a tenth. And we're going to play that up and down the instrument. And critically, we're going to work on doing it in all 12 keys. So we started randomly in G there. We'll move up a 4th to C. Exactly the same shapes, exactly the same pattern, a major scale. In tenths, up another 4th would be F. And our goal is to be as fluent in every single key without having to think about it. I'm not flying around the neck of the instrument. I'm not playing at breakneck speed. I'm simply going at a pace that is comfortable to me and working in all 12 keys. Now I had to displace an octave there because I ran out of range in the upper register of the instrument. That's quite rare. There are only a couple of places that you'll have to do this. And something else I'd like you to concentrate on while you're doing this is your fretting hand. For me, that's my left hand. And if you'll notice, up until now, I've been using exactly the same fingering with my fretting hand of 2 and 3. Now, when I was first working on this, I'd work through as many combinations of fingers as possible. There's no reason why you can't go 1 and 2. Three and 4. Even 1 and 4. That one's a little more challenging. And the point being, the reason you want to consider all of these options is because at some point you'll get to a stage where you play more than 2 notes in a chord. So if you have this major chord here and you're playing 2 and 3 as your 10th voicing, you're going to be afforded the option to drop the first finger in as another voice and maybe the 4th finger in as a 4th voice, and just expand from there. So really important to have that flexibility on your fretting hand, major scales in tenths, but with every finger combination possible. Now, all you 4-string players and even 5-string with low B players, don't freak out. I have switched instruments to a 5-string with a high C, E, A, D, G, C. if only to highlight the fact that we still retain the regular 4 strings of a standard 4-string bass. And I want you to remember, you can approach any of this material no matter what bass you have. This next exercise again draws on the major scale. It's very similar to an exercise in the Hanon Virtuoso Pianist, a piano book that I used when I was first developing my technique. But I've added a chromatic approach note similar to what you might hear in bebop vocabulary. And when we play the phrase, that's our first phrase. Now we're going to go up every step of the major scale and play that. But when we get to each next step of the scale, we're going to have a chromatic approach note, either from above or from below. When we start off in C, we're playing up the major scale to the 5th and back down again. And before we get to that second step of the scale, we're going to have a chromatic approach note from above to slide into that. So that sounds like this. Then we go from below, above, above, below, below. Now I'm playing that up on the 8th fret, starting point on the 8th fret, 2nd finger. Whenever you have the opportunity to play this in multiple locations on the instrument, as this stringing affords me, I'm going to make sure I do that whenever I'm running through this in the routine, so I can play it in a very comfortable position up here. When I get down in the lower register of the instrument, the stretch is a little more, takes a little more strength, and I want to make sure I push myself in that area of the neck. It may not seem like much of a difference, but trust me, in terms of the muscles you need to use and the strength you need to have to execute that with the same quality of sound, it really is a little bit more of a challenge than playing higher up in the instrument. And of course, if you do have the option to play higher up in the register of the instrument, do that as well. I have basically 3 locations, 2 of which we've looked at, the kind of easier lower register, the tougher lower register, and now the third option would be an octave up from that in the key of C. Again, just like our first exercise, we want to make sure we're doing that in 12 keys. So I like to cycle through 4th. So I'd go from C to F now. And of course, the same concept applies. Try to do that in as many places on the instrument as possible. And I do have quite an extended range here, so I can play that up an octave from there. So let's jump back to the 4-string for the third and final idea in this video. And this is one that really expands kind of all 3 things that I was talking about. You're going to play everything in 12 keys. You're going to use the entire range of the instrument, and you're going to be working on harmony. In this case, we're going to be working on a 5-to-1, a dominant chord to a 1-chord resolution. The 1 chord being minor in this case. And the 5 chord, we're going to play up a diminished arpeggio. And if we start here in the key of D minor, for instance, we'll be going from A7 to D minor. That'll be our 5-to-1. So get that sound of A7 in your head, the dominant chord. We're actually going to start on the 3rd of that chord, the C sharp, and resolve to D minor. That's the sound of the exercise. We're going to move that through all 12 keys. I'm going to show you how we link that together. So we've ended up in D minor. Now, wherever we end up on our root, on our resolution, on our tonic, we turn that into the new 5 chord to go up a 4th, to go to the new key, to cycle around the entire neck of the instrument. So every time you get to a minor chord, you now have to adjust that minor 3rd, that minor 10th to a major 10th, which in this case, D is F sharp. And F sharp is our new starting point for the exercise to go over again. This is how we get from D7 to G minor. And it sounds like this. So don't forget, we started with A7 going to D minor. That sounded like this. We arrived in D minor and turned it to D7. We get to G minor. We turn that to G7. And our major third of G is B, so that's our next starting point. And so on and so forth. We go around this cycle. Every time we get to the 1 minor, we turn it to a dominant chord. That becomes our 5. We head to the third. And suddenly we go from C7 to F minor, and so on, all the way through the cycle, all the way through all 12 keys. This is really going to expand your knowledge of the entire range of the instrument, and it's going to get you used to being able to switch, to move, to use your ear, to train your ear to know that, okay, if I'm here, D minor, wow, I can just move to the major third, create a dominant chord, and then I'm headed to G minor. In fact, without the exercise, you could just play chords, G minor, head to G7 to C minor. Same exercise again. C minor becomes C7, which is the 5 of F. F minor, our new 1, which becomes F7, which is the 5 of B flat. Round and round and round. So you can actually get multiple exercises out of this. I just like to approach it in that way of really outlining all the chord tones, really outlining the harmony, but there's no reason you can't also use it just with chords, just with 3-note chords, outlining that harmony and moving around the entire neck of the instrument. So get in the comments below. Let me know if you have a 6-string, a 4-string, a 5-string, low B or high C. Let me know how you got on with these exercises. Where were the biggest challenges? Where did you have to stop and ask yourself the bigger questions, the tougher questions to answer? Where did you have to push yourself a little bit further? I'm always fascinated with that. I love the feedback. If you leave a book emoji in your comment below, I will promise to read your comment and answer the question if there is one. And don't forget, if you want to check out any of this stuff a little deeper, get into the books, the signed physical copies, the digital copies, the bundles, everything is linked below in the description of the video, and I'll see you.